total team win.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, gang. What's up? It's Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for joining us to make it your first listen or watch. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, our Locked On Tar Heels insiders, and our great Locked On Tar Heels Discord family as well. Coming up on the show today, first off, in real time, we're, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this man's last name right, but Michael Cadeau is announcing that Jim Tanner will be the GM for North Carolina. Hey, yo, that's great news. We're going to have to talk about that on tomorrow's show because we've already got this whole thing planned, and we got to break down this game. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so we'll talk GM news tomorrow. Woo! Pat Kilby and I'll do that on the Wednesday show. For today, though, Carolina wins in Tallahassee 96-85 over Florida State. Yeah, 96 points on the Noles. We'll take that. It's the second 4-game winning streak of the season. Carolina won at Notre Dame, against SMU, at NC State, and against Cal. Tar Heels are now 18-11 overall, 11-6 in ACC play. We'll see where things go from here. As of right now, Carolina is 6th in the standings, a half game behind both SMU and Wake. Joe Lunardi said it on ESPN post-game, but he's, for now, still got North Carolina at the top of the first 4 out. So should anyone slide, Carolina would just slot right on into Dayton, and that'd be good news, at least for the time being. So here's where we're going to go. Got big picture takeaway. Going to have our 4 corners recap of the game, Shady's stat of the game, a couple other things we want to get to. Baseball just keeps on winning, so we'll look at all sorts of stuff. That little update on where things are at with quads and all of that kind of stuff as well. But first, it is Tuesday, and it's time for Trivia Tuesday. And the way I thought we would do that today is by honoring both the Carolina legacy and some Leonard Hamilton legacy. Leonard Hamilton obviously just about to retire from Florida State. This is a dude that I don't know what's going to happen with these former players that are suing him right now, but from everything I've ever heard and seen and been told, this is a man that does it the right way, and somebody you know, just, it's like, yes, respect to you, Leonard Hamilton, for how you run your team and your program and your life. Anyway, he is retiring after this year. So the Tuesday trivia question is this: coming into this season, Leonard Hamilton had the 5th most ACC wins all time. That's combining regular season and conference tournament wins. My question to you is, who are the top 4? Who are the 4 guys, the 4 gentlemen that come before Leonard Hamilton on that list? Answer coming up at the end of the show. I will tell you this, though. Leonard Hamilton coming into the season, 192 regular season wins, 15 ACC tournament wins for a total of 207. So the other 4 all have more than that. All right, we're going to talk about this being a total team win, but I just got to get the emotion of this like out there. Brandon Mayberry is a guy, he and I text back and forth a lot on Twitter DMs, and he sent me a GIF after this game that's basically like, don't give me hope. Don't give me hope, Shade. Don't give me hope, Tar Heels, because I'm a start hoping. I'm going to start, starting to feel like, man, I want these guys to make this tournament, but it might not happen. And they've shown me all season long that they're not to be trusted. But suddenly they look like the best version of them that I've ever seen. What is going on? But I look, here's the thing. Seriously, how fun is this right now? We're just enjoying this ride. And it kind of feels like, I don't know if you feel this way. I thought, Carolina has an outside shot, but it's probably not going to happen because of what we've seen from them this season, making the NCAA tournament, I mean. And so it's just kind of like you're playing with house money at this point. Let's see what we can do. And this is why you stay with it through thick and thin. If you had bailed on this season, if I had bailed on this season, we wouldn't get to experience what we are right now. The frustration of so much of what's happened this year, and then being like, wow, look at these guys now. We hope it's not too little too late, but man, what a cool thing how well they're playing right now here down the stretch. And ultimately, let's recognize it might not end up amounting to anything, and Carolina might just kind of live on the wrong side of the bubble the rest of the way down the stretch here. All right. But man, I'll tell you what, that's what fandom is, and that's what being part of this community is all about. And so I'm going to lean into it, and I want to ask you to lean into it with me, and let's have fun and enjoy this closing stretch. And that's a good moment to also remind us all that there could be as few as 4 games remaining in the season for the Tar Heels. There's 3 regular season games left: Miami, Virginia Tech, Duke. Guaranteed, Carolina won't be in that bottom 3, so guaranteed to get at least 1 ACC tournament game. And that's it. You might lose that game, and you might not make the NCAA tournament. You might get invited to the NIT and decline it like we did 2 years ago, in which case you're only playing 4 more games. So soak it up, because this might be it. Enjoy every second. This will be the last time you see RJ Davis in a Tar Heel uniform. Jalen Withers, Ty Claude, same thing. Now, here's what I love the most about what happened on Monday night down in Tallahassee. North Carolina gets a total team win. Man, it's so good. So often, I feel like, last year, RJ had to carry such a heavy burden offensively a lot of times, while Armando was doing things to allow that to happen. It was just like, it was so much of that weight was on RJ. And I think he has shouldered so much of that weight this year, and that's where the struggles have been for him and the team a lot of times. And so to see them doing what they did on Monday night, man, I was just loving it. There is clearly more cohesion. There is more like, we're all in this together. We're a team. We're connected. We're fighting for each other. We're fighting for Coach Davis and the staff. We're all in. The first half alone in this game, 9 different Tar Heels played 6 or more minutes. All 9 of those Tar Heels scored at least 3 points. 7 of the 9 scored at least 5 points, and 5 of the 9 had 6 or more points by halftime. Man, look at that distribution across the board there. And when it was all said and done, there were 6 different Tar Heels that finished in double figures. And then the other 3 of those 9 all had at least 5. So yes, the 9 Tar Heels that played at least 1 minute in this game all had at least 5 points. We've been talking about the better and improved 3-point shooting of late. And it was great because so many different Tar Heels have been hitting. 5 against NC State. 5 against Virginia. I'm messing that up. 5 against Syracuse. That's what it is. 5 against NC State, and then 4 against Virginia. I was like, I'm missing a game in there. But last night in Tallahassee, 6 different Tar Heels hit a 3. All 9 Tar Heels that played at least 1 minute got a rebound. And what I think I love perhaps the most is you had a very loud 20 points from RJ Davis, right? Some highlight reel step back threes. You had the Florida State guy clapping when he got switched because he's like, I'm gonna stop you, RJ Davis. And RJ's like, cute buckets, right? The crazy acrobatic layup on the right side of the rim where he switched midair to not get blocked. Like, all of that from RJ. Great. Loved all that loud stuff. But you have these really solid games from the front court guys, from the Jae'lyns and from Van Allen Lubin, among others, sure. But I loved it quietly. Van Allen Lubin had 10 points on 4 of 5 shooting, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, had led the team in rebounds with 7, and 3 of those were offensive. Jalen Withers, very quiet. 2 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and 6 of 9 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and critically no turnovers. And Jalen Washington, just ho-hum, 10 points, 3 of 3 perfect from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, and 3 of 4 from the free throw line, chipped in 3 rebounds as well. That's that little front court engine that could, man. Those 3 guys combined finished 9 of 11 from the field. I mean, come on. And it was so quiet, right? Because like we probably didn't even realize, like, yeah, they had a couple buckets. Jay Witt hit that 3 earlier in the game. Jay Wash from the top of the lane. And then it's like, oh man, they scored a combined 31 points on 9 of 11 shooting. And how about Van Allen Lubin? You know, that little putback he had, the wherewithal to wait for it to come off the rim before tipping it back. Just This is very quiet. 31 from Carolina's front court in this game. Everybody's chipping in. So yes, RJ led the way and did so in a multitude of ways, right? Like had 20 points on a really efficient. He was 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. And again, a great, he's doing so much with playmaking right now. 5 assists, 0 turnovers. In the last 4 games, RJ Davis, 18 assists to just 4 turnovers. My goodness, dude. What on earth? We'll take it. And of course, the big news for RJ in this game is he moves into number 3 all-time on the ACC scoring list. Tyler Hansbrough leads the way, then JJ Redick with 27.69. Then comes RJ, who right now has 25.92. And RJ just passed Wake Forest's Dickie Hemrick, who had 25.87. And what a magnanimous gesture by, on the broadcast, where we learned that we're no longer going to be worrying about asterisks on 5 years. So thank you, Corey, for your magnanimous change of heart there. Yeah, I laugh because I've always given, he doesn't know me, I don't know him, but I've always given him crap about that. It's like, dude, come on, what about when the freshmen were allowed to play and we had 4 years instead of 3? Were people getting the stink that? No. So come on, man. I love it. So anyway, I do appreciate now that he's like, you know what? I rescind that. I'm all in. Way to go, RJ Davis. So that's great stuff. But like, again, all across the board, Seth Trimble, man, was more aggressive than maybe any game we've seen since he returned from injury. There might have been one other. Cade Tyson, we talked about him on the live postcast reaction show, where just adding so much like that, had some big boy rebounds in this game from him. Just multiple guys adding stuff. It wasn't a crazy day from Ian Jackson, but he did some nice things. Elliot Cadeau, yes, he had 3 turnovers, but also had 10 points, had 7 assists. Took too many threes. Let's say that, right? And he was 0 for 4, and then he hit the 2 later in the game. The no, yes one that he had, and then there was the other one that I can't even remember. But you know, just everybody adding in, and that's what's making this team come together. Is everybody's doing something. Everybody knows they have a role to play, and everybody's playing that role. So what's going to happen? I don't know. Is Carolina going to beat Miami and Virginia Tech? Probably. Are they going to beat Duke? Probably not. But can they? This version of the Tar Heels? Maybe so. Who knows? And that's why we keep playing the games. That's why we stay connected. I'm so happy for these guys and so proud of them for staying in and working hard. And we'll see what happens in the coming week and a half. Now, rebounding. Suddenly, Carolina is a rebounding juggernaut. Where'd that come from? Well, we'll look at that, plus the rest of the Four Corners recap, all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Prize Picks. March basketball, you guys, is almost here, and there's no better way to get in on that action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, what you do is you pick more or less on at least 2 players' stat projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, it's easy, and keeps every game exciting. Prize Picks also has weekly promos, things like Taco Tuesday today, where you get discounted player projections for even more added value. How about a specific more or less? Let's pick it. Tonight, the Lakers are playing Dallas. How about that? Little Luka Doncic against his former team. Prize Picks has Luka's points, rebounds, and assists combined set at 48, more or less than that. I'm saying he's going all hard on Dallas. Let's go more on Luka about that. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. It's time for the Four Corners recap, where we recap and unpack 4 different things from this game, whether it's specific to this game or something that we zoom out and it's a bigger storyline. And that's where we're actually going to start, is with something that is specific to this game, but also a bigger narrative going on right now. And that's Carolina's rebounding and second chance points. Let me first remind you, as we have this conversation, that the Florida State Seminoles, per Ken Palm, are the second tallest team in the entire nation, behind only Duke. And then let me remind you that in the 3 games prior to NC State, Virginia, and this Florida State game, Carolina was -6, -13, and -4 on the glass. And then for the NC State game, Coach Davis made a switch to bring in Drake Powell alongside Van Allen Lubin and Jalen Withers in the front court, going along with Elliot, Cadeau, and RJ Davis in the backcourt. Since then, Carolina on the glass is +19 against NC State, +14 against Virginia, and again on Monday night, +14 against Florida State. Literally, the only game they had a better rebounding margin this season was American, 3rd game of the season. Carolina is suddenly, somehow, a rebounding juggernaut, just getting everything. And it's not just like all around. It's offensive rebounding, holding down the other team and doing all sorts of great work. For example, Carolina has held their opponent. The 2 lowest offensive rebounding totals for an opponent this year are 3 offensive rebounds and 4 offensive rebounds. I bring that up because it's been the last 2 games. Carolina held Virginia to 3 offensive rebounds and held Florida State to just 4 offensive rebounds. That's the 2 lowest totals all season long. Lowest rebounding total for an opponent this year, 21. Total rebounds, 21. That's happened exactly 3 times. Oh, and by the way, it's the last 3 games. In the last 3 games, Carolina has held their opponent to 21 rebounds in total. That's the lowest total for the season. Carolina is doing great on the glass. But also, it's not just getting rebounds for rebounding's sake. You want to get a rebound and do something with it. Well, if it's an offensive rebound, you want to get the ball back on the rim, score, and get extra possessions for your team in that way. Specific to this Florida State game, Carolina dominated the second chance points 24-6. I mean, that's phenomenal. And in a game you win by 11, that's an 18-point margin right there, just on that alone. Great stuff. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap, points per possession. We look at this pretty regularly, and let me remind you that 1.0 point per possession is like the baseline. You want to be better than that offensively, and you want to hold your opponent under 1.0 defensively. We're just talking offense right now. Carolina was 1.5 against Florida State. And I know that you're like, well, that's just half a point. But yeah, when 1.0 is the baseline, every little tiny tenth you go up is massive. So going to 1.5 against Florida State, let me just save you the trouble. That's the highest points per possession for Carolina as a team this season. But in the broader scope of things, it's the 4th straight game that Carolina has been over 1.3 this season. And that is the only such stretch. Like, they hadn't done it twice in a row. And now they've done it 4 straight games. Let me also say, prior to this stretch, Carolina only had 3 total other games all season long when they were above 1.3, and none of those were connected. And now they've done it 4 in a row. This is great stuff. And in this 4-game stretch that the Tar Heels are in, they're averaging 90.5 points per game. So yeah, not only does it look good on the efficiency stuff, but they're just, the offense is clicking, man. It's going so well right now, and I'm so encouraged by that. Part of that is that the bench is doing their part to chip in. Carolina against Syracuse, 34 points from the bench. Against NC State, 43. Against Virginia, 26. And then on Monday night against Florida State, Carolina had 38 points off the bench. Also, it wasn't just the scoring. Carolina had their highest bench usage of ACC play, just shy of 40% at 39.37. And you look at the box score, go look at it. The minutes played is not all that crazy. Coach Davis is spreading this thing around. I mean, to think about a Coach Hubert Davis team getting almost 40% of their minutes from the bench, that's unheard of, man. That's great stuff. It's so encouraging to be able to use your bench a lot like this to trust them down the stretch of the season. 4th in our Four Corners recap, points in the paint. Coach Davis often talks about we want to get into the paint. We want to score there by pass or penetration, and maybe there's another P he uses in there. But basically, let's get to the rim, let's get balls up on the rim, and let's score. Well, Carolina did that in this game, again, against the second tallest team in the nation. Points in the paint, Carolina not nearly, I guess they were 6 points off, but were in the vicinity of doubling up Florida State in points in the paint, 42-24. Again, this is Florida State, for crying out loud, that Carolina's doing this to. Carolina just has been attacking, and so good in this game because it got Carolina to the free throw line a ton, where they were, we'll talk more about that. But again, just continuing to thrive at getting the free throw line and getting shots up in those moments, which is, again, how Carolina needs to make their mark in a lot of ways this year. So really good stuff there for the Tar Heels. Really proud of them. We got another stat to get to, the Shady stat of the game. And boy, I tell you, folks, those 3-point numbers for the Tar Heels, they are cooking right now. We'll get to that in just a second. It's time for the Shady stat of the game, and the Shady stat of the game is 34%. Isaac, what 34%? What are you saying? Well, let me tell you. Carolina has been on an absolute hot streak from the 3-point line in the past 4 games. And each game it's been like, wait, this is not what this team shoots. Is this real? This is not what this team shoots. Is this real? And now here we are, 4 straight games of it. Carolina against Syracuse, 13 of 28 from 3. Against NC State, 8 of 20. Virginia, 9 of 16. And then against Florida State on Monday night, 10 of 26. Meaning that over the course of these last 4 games, Carolina is 40 of 90 from the 3-point line. That's 44.4%. As a team, man, that's not just like, oh, Jalen Withers is going on a hot streak and he's 44. No. The Tar Heels' entire roster combined 44.4% from 3 in the last 4 games. And as we've already said, Carolina has had multiple players doing that, including 6 different Tar Heels hitting at least 1 against Florida State. It's crazy stuff. It's really, really, really good. And Carolina, all of a sudden, where we had a lack of trust, I think, a lack of consistency, now I'm starting to feel like I'm going to be more surprised if they don't shoot well Saturday against Miami. I'm going to be more surprised if they don't show up and rebound like crazy. I'm going to be more surprised, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And let's be honest, Coach Davis had told us all season long, I've said it a couple times now, this is a better shooting team than what they are showing you in games. It's like, Coach Davis is given to exaggerating sometimes with some of those things. It's like, okay, Coach, I hear you. But now I know, I hear you loud and clear. This is what it is. This changes the ceiling and trajectory for this team. And again, I cannot fathom what this team's record could have been if this is how they were playing all year. They weren't, and we can't dwell on that because it doesn't do any good. But here we are. And consequently, before this stretch, before the Syracuse game, Carolina was shooting 32.3% as a team from 3. That is very bad. But because of this 4-game streak, where Carolina has shot 40 of 90, they've raised their team season-long 3-point percentage nearly 2 whole percentage points, from 32.3 all the way to 34 flat. 34% Carolina is now shooting as a team from 3 because of what they've done in these last 4 games. Can they keep it going? I've seen literally nothing to tell me that they won't. Other than the randomness of some days the ball just doesn't go in. But because they're getting it from so many guys, you got to expect somebody's going to be hitting game in and game out. It's just, it's impressive. Now, a potential negative from this game, one of the things that's good that Carolina has done lately is gotten to the free throw line. They got away from that. There was a stretch where they were averaging about 15 free throw attempts per game, and that wasn't good enough for this team. This team is a team that has to make some hay at the free throw line. In the past 4 games, so Syracuse State, Virginia, and Florida State, Carolina has gone to the free throw line at least 20 times in every one of those games, all 4 of them. And in 2 of those 4 games, they've shot very well. That was the middle 2 games, NC State and Virginia. Shot really well, 19 of 24 and 18 of 22. Against Syracuse, they did not shoot as well. It was a pretty bad percentage, in fact. And against Florida State on Monday night, I thought things were going to be really good at the free throw line. Why? Because Carolina started 10 of 11 at the line. They were 10 of 11 in the first half. The problem came after halftime, where for some reason Carolina just couldn't find it and went from shooting 10 of 11 to they made more. They made 12, but they took 20. And so the final number, not only did they get to the free throw line 20 or more times, they made more than 20 free throws. That's always a good sign. The problem is they took 31 total. And so 22 out of 31 is not quite good enough. So got to lock in on those, but still good stuff. The silver lining again, 4th straight game with 20 or more free throw attempts. Had a question from our YouTube, from the live postcast that I wanted to bring in here. David Devane said, defensively, do you think zone is our best option? And what do you think about pressing more? I think it leads to more transition points that can make the difference, end quote. Let's take those one at a time. I do like the zone, David, and I think it can be a critical part of what Carolina does. Truthfully, I wish they had started using it more frequently earlier in the season as they were struggling. I don't know that it would have worked, but I would have liked to have seen it. Now, you asked, do I think zone is the best option? No, I still think that Carolina's baseline man-to-man defense is the best singular option. But what I would like to see is Carolina utilize both in a non-logical pattern so that the opposition is never able to guess. Like, are they going to start in zone and flip back to man on the first pass? What's going to happen here? I want the offense to have to guess what Carolina's defense is doing. So, I think the zone is a great option, but I want to see it wedded with man-to-man, and Carolina utilize that as a way to keep them guessing. Similar with pressing. Right now, Carolina's pretty much been doing it off of made free throws. Not off of every made free throw, but that's when they typically are throwing it right now. I loved it, though, the other day when they mixed it up and threw it out of a timeout that it was either State or Virginia called, and they just went right back to it. I love that, man. And so I do want to see them press more, but wisely so. Like, don't price yourself out of a game by doing it so much that the opposition has figured it out and is now able to get past it easily and get layups. And then you're like, hey, I'm over here trying to just, you gotta be careful with it. So that's where things are at. I want Carolina to use both the press and the zone to just disrupt the offensive flow, slow the team down, make them think about what they're doing. And man, it's hard because Carolina, like Jameer Watkins went off, and you just got to deal with that sometimes. And Carolina thankfully did. So the question now then is, what's left for Carolina? What's ahead? Well, Saturday, the Tar Heels welcome Miami to the Smith Center. Miami is another one of these teams that has been struggling and has already, Jim Larrañaga has already stepped away. And with Miami coming to the Dean Dome, RJ Davis's eyes are just lighting up like crazy right now because he can't wait to get into that again. And then next Tuesday, Carolina goes to Blacksburg and Virginia Tech. Can't take either of those games for granted because you can't take anything for granted. Got to go ready to do work. Saturday at home, Tuesday on the road. And then if you do that, that'll be a 6-game winning streak, and it makes that Duke game next Saturday, the 8th, a game. It makes it a game that matters for Carolina, because win that, then you might have already punched your ticket. So that's where things are at right now. And a couple of folks have asked me to clarify a few things. So here's some of them. Q2, Carolina's win over Florida State was a quad 2 as of Monday's net ranking. It refreshes overnight every night. So as of Monday, they were 88th in the net. For Q1, when you're on the road, it's a team has to be top 75. So, I mean, that's a 33 slot jump. And probably by the time you're listening to or watching this, we've already got Tuesday's refresh. And because of losing at home, they've probably fallen even further than that. So anyway, I don't have any worries about it falling to Q3. You got to go all the way back to 135 before that happens, and I don't think it will. But Vaughn on YouTube asked, quote, "Is there any chance of any of our Q2 games turning into a Q1 game?" End quote. It's a great question. And unfortunately, Vaughn, the answer is it's not looking great. The best shot that Carolina has right now for one of their current Q2s to turn into a Q1 is SMU. The problem is SMU is 39th right now, and you got to be top 30 for a home win. But that's still the closest. And I don't see it right now. So some years there's some that are right on the fringe. It's like, oh man, that might flip. I think if Carolina wants to get that almighty second Q1, they're going to have to do it by either beating Duke or in the ACC tournament, getting a quad one win in that regard. So we'll see what happens with all of that. And then the other thing was I was asked if the Florida State game was wire to wire like the previous 3 games had been. And unfortunately, it was not. That streak ended. Carolina did score first, and I was like, oh, man, it might happen. But there were a couple times when Florida State scored to take leads, including, that 4-point lead that they had over Carolina at one point. But RJ Davis ties it at 34 with 5 minutes and 39 seconds left in the first half. And Carolina never trailed again from that moment. So basically, the final 5/8 of this game, Carolina led. And in totality, how about this? These 4 games combined in the last 160 minutes of game action, Carolina has trailed for a grand total of 5 minutes and 18 seconds out of 160 minutes of basketball action. Crazy, crazy stuff there. Now, let's turn our attention to the Diamond Heels, where they swept ECU over the weekend. Sorry, I had to stop and think there. It was supposed to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The inclement weather late last week pushed the Friday game to Monday. That's where they were playing just in the lead up to the basketball game. But the guys are now 7-0 after sweeping ECU. They've moved up to 5th in the nation. Great stuff. They swept Texas Tech to kick off the season. They beat K-State and then swept ECU. Carolina going into Monday's game had already won the series. But they broke out the broomsticks on Monday and did all that work. I loved it because they were able to jump out on top with a 3-run second inning, scored 2 in the 4th and 1 in the 6th, and that was it for the Tar Heels, and then just held on the rest of the way. Aiden Houck gets the win, saved to Matty M, and actually, believe it or not, Carolina hit another home run on Monday. Stokely started the scoring for Carolina in the second inning there. Big days at the plate for both Stoke and for Stevenson. And so that's really encouraging to see. And then for the Diamond Heels, they're right back at it today, hosting VCU 4 p.m. at the Bosch, and then tomorrow hosting in North Carolina A&T at the Bosch, same time, 4 p.m. Then a glorious day off Thursday before getting into the weekend slate. So much going on for the Diamond Heels right now before they get right back at it. All right, Tuesday trivia answer really quick, and then we'll get out of here. Leonard Hamilton is retiring after this year. Coming into the season, he had the 5th most ACC wins regular season tournament combined. Who are the top 4? Let's go from number 1 down to number 4, because I think the number 4 person is the one that if somebody's not going to get somebody, it's going to be that one. All right, number 1. Probably all know it and can say it off the top of our heads. Coach K, 466 ACC wins combined regular season and tournament. 535. I was looking at just the regular season wins. 466 regular season, 69 in the ACC tournament. Number 2 on this list, Dean Smith, baby. 422 all-time ACC wins, 364 from regular season and 58 from ACC tournament. Next on the list, number 3. Roy Williams with 241 ACC wins, 212 in regular season and 29 in the tournament. And then 4th on the list, again, this is the one I said you probably wouldn't get, with 210 wins is Gary Williams from Maryland, who had 192 regular season wins and then 18 conference tournament wins coming in. And so that's where things are at right now. And then obviously Leonard Hamilton this season has passed Gary Williams. So he's actually right now, as we talk, 4th on this list. Really good career. Want to just honor him well, and thankful for Coach Ham's contributions to this game, man. Great stuff. Well, you guys, that'll do it for today's show. Great to be together, unpacking Carolina's win at Florida State. Man, I was nervous about it, but they got it. They did it. Yes. And again, a total team effort. So encouraged by that. Now you get to kind of rest on your laurels, watch everyone else. Hopefully some other bubble teams take losses this week ahead of Carolina hosting Miami on Saturday. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. If you haven't subscribed to Locked on Tar Heels on YouTube, make sure you do that right now. Help us get ever closer to that 10,000 bump. And if you prefer to listen, subscribe to that as well. I would love for you to subscribe to both. It just helps get the name of the show out there even more. If you've not joined the Locked on Tar Heels Insiders, you can do that right now. A great way to go next level with the show and help support what we're doing as well. And then also the Locked on Tar Heels Discord family, where you can join hundreds of other Tar Heels fans chatting Carolina stuff literally all day long. All right, you guys, again, I already said it, but I'll say it again. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow. Myself, Coach Pat Kilby. Going to be a great conversation. Can't wait for it. But until then, peace.